Welcome back, League fans. We're gearing up for Game 2 between FlyQuest and Envy. And FlyQuest came out strong in Game number 1 to put up a commanding win. And of course, when it comes to player of the game, there's one man that came to everybody's mind that game, and it's definitely got to be High.
Yeah, I think there's no surprise that we're giving player of the game to High. That Corky was massive in this game. He had mid lane pressure. They were able to snowball right through that turret. Multiple kills all over the map. He was able to even snowball into a very early QSS to be able to negate really any comeback potential for Envy, resulting from any sort of picks that they would try to attempt. But man, such a snowball. Honorable mention though, we do have to talk about Moon. That jungle was something we're going to highlight because Envy have to use a sub here, and they only have a mid lane sub, so they've got a mid laner playing their jungle role. Knew it was going to be a weak point for them, but FlyQuest there, Moon was able to pressure, and that definitely helped out High in getting to the point that he did.
And we wanted to see Moon step up. He obviously had a good game number 1. High had a great game number 1. But now, Envy, they got to reset. Get themselves in the right state of mind and be ready to come back strong here in game number 2.
Exactly. We've got best of 3s here in the North American LCS. Definitely not over after game 1. And if we look at the pick bans from the last time around, there are definitely things that we can change here for Envy, especially knowing how deep the champion pools are. The only thing that we don't really know is how constricted the jungle pool is, because the Olaf here, we're not exactly sure how confident they feel, with having Ninja play the high tiers like Rengar, since they were the ones that had to ban it out. They also had to ban out Kha'Zix. So to me that says, he just hasn't had enough time playing jungle because he's obviously a mid laner. So it might really hurt them in the pick bans again. And that's a really big advantage considering the new format.
And that's not something that you normally think about is, what do we have to ban away because our jungler doesn't actually play jungle because we don't want to allow them to have it, right? Yeah. Because normally you think, if this is left up, they have a chance at it, we have a chance at it, we'll trade a power pick for a different power pick. But if the power pick you'd be getting in the trade is one that your guy can't play, then you're up the creek.
Yeah, it's just how much are you really going to lose? I mean, the difference between Moon on Lee Sin and Moon on Kha'Zix, not too big, right? Because he's going to be great on both of them. His Lee Sin was amazing. Didn't get too much value out of that one. I would definitely ban the Rengar if you don't play Rengar, you're not willing to first pick it, because that could get really scary. And I guess they were also super scared about Kha'Zix snowballing and getting a bunch of kills and resetting all over them. But yeah, it does leave you with very few options. So we'll see what creative solution they can try and come up with for game number 2 here, as FlyQuest are headed right back out, getting back into their seats, and they just want to repeat. That was a very smooth game for them. Only little hiccups were, Balls was on Maokai and he had to play against Jace. So obviously that was going to be difficult for him, but he got bullied a little bit and then he got dove under his turret. Maybe a little, if they're looking for areas to improve, and you're always looking to improve no matter how well the game goes, even on your victories. These LCS guys are always complaining. Even when they win, they're like, I made so many mistakes. I need to clean up this, 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 and this. That's going to be one of them that they will try and improve on. But look at that. They got smiles on their faces and definitely deserve so.
Yeah, you've got to be happy about the performance. We talked about it at the end of the last game. Just slightly over 30 minutes. And there it is, the Elimination Notebook. Obviously planning on some sort of awesome ideas that he's going to be hatching here in game number 2. But just slightly over a 30-minute victory in game number 1 means FlyQuest didn't only do this really clean, they didn't only do it very effectively, they did it fast.
And that's one of the things that we were talking about a little bit. It's always fun to watch a team piloted by High. This guy is one of the most experienced shot callers. There's been a shot caller through so many different metas as well. When we see them transition from mid lane turret to bottom lane turret to back to another turret, and picking up these drakes, they really don't waste time, and that's how they get to those very quick and early snowball victories. When they have a lead, it's very difficult. The most funny ones are when they actually don't have a lead, though, and you see Cloud9, previous Cloud9, now FlyQuest. I'm probably going to do that a while just because I've been shoutcasting High and Balls and Lemon as Cloud9 for so many years. But when we used to see them on Cloud9 and they would try and make all these crazy, objective trades and sneaking around plays to try and get back into the game, and it would actually work quite a lot. Even if you do get that lead on them, you still have to really check off all your boxes and ward very heavily, or else they'll come at you with one of those sneak objective steals.
Sometimes those objective steals can be what the doctor ordered to get yourself back into a game from a losing position. And of course, we saw some objective trades from Envy in game number 1, trying to kind of eke their way back in however they could, but it just wasn't enough. They were too far behind.
As we said, Seraph is no slouch himself. Seraph is a veteran of the league, been here for a few years now. His English is great. His communication is great. Definitely one of the leaders that has developed very nicely here. And, they are not dissuaded by that early loss. They knew it was going to be an uphill battle coming into this one. And very excited to see, what they do concoct for game number 2.
And, looking at how quickly and effectively FlyQuest performed in game number 1, you got to kind of look at where these two teams are sitting overall in the league, in the North American LCS. Because going into this split, if you take a look at different analyst predictions, if you take a look at different power rankings, nobody's really looking at these two teams and saying, yeah, FlyQuest and Envy, they're going to be right there with TSM. They're going to be right there with Cloud9. These are teams that people aren't expecting as much of. And if you can make a showing like that, that says something.
Yeah, I think these two are two of the teams that are definitely projected towards the lower end of the pre-LCS power rankings. And FlyQuest trying to make a name for themselves here in game number 2. They're actually going to be the ones banning out Kha'Zix this time on the blue side.
Yep, they're going to go ahead and take out the Kha'Zix, take out the Rise as their first and second bans. Meanwhile, Team Envy kind of just playing the hand that they're dealt as the red side banning phase number 1. The LeBlanc, the Rengar both going to be banned away. And I'd be willing to bet my bottom dollar that if Camille is not banned off by FlyQuest for whatever reason, Envy's going to be taking that one out.
Most definitely. I would expect FlyQuest to go for another target ban and Envy have to do the Camille duty and ban her out as well, because I'm going to want to see balls on that champion. And Jace is going to be the FlyQuest answer, as they want to make a small adjustment. As we talked about, that one point of weakness there for them in the last game was that Seraph was bullying pretty hard and getting a fairly substantial CS lead. So pretty much all going to expect it here so far.
Yeah, take out the Jace, get rid of the thing that was causing you trouble, that thorn in your side, just pluck it out. Be good going forward. Camille is going to be banned away by Envy, and FlyQuest goes ahead and picks up that highly contested top-tier support that was banned away last time.
Good pickup here for Envy and Answer as well. Yeah, that Zara did go over to FlyQuest very early on and is a huge bully, and Lemon is one of the players that, kind of pioneered the champion along with Sneaky on the Ashe back in his Cloud9 days. But Team Envy, I really like their answers so far in the pick ban. Stealing away the Maokai from balls, grabbing that tank after the Jace is already banned, and then getting one of the top tier AD carries, getting that Varus just so they know they can dictate the role. They can pretty much make FlyQuest pick this Ashe, because if you don't answer, again, remember, the AD carry role is one of those ones that's a little bit thinner at the top, and the second ban phase, you can really start to whittle it down.
And it's interesting how you can force your opponents into these kind of avenues that you want them to play to, with the way that the new pick and ban works, with the way that you now have more banning opportunities in the middle of the draft. So it means you don't go in with a concrete plan and say, all right, we're going to do this. You don't cookie cutter it, right? You adapt more so to every single pick and ban phase. Moon's going to be locking in that Ashe, and High, once again, going to be soaring through the skies on that Corki he did so well with in game number 1.
He was definitely flying high with Corki last game, and he's blind picking it again, so still confident there. The Elise, we haven't seen a tremendous amount of it. However, she's so good on the current patch. So many, especially in solo queue, highest rated challengers, a lot of very high play rates on Elise, especially over in Korea. There were adjustments to Leandri's Torment, where Guys and Torment are very good early pickups on her. I'm really loving early magic penetration builds for her. That definitely has huge potential to snowball a game. So this is a promising, start here for Team Envy. If Ninja does play Elise well, which is, it's a champion that you need to put some time in on. There are a lot of small mechanics that can make the difference between a great Elise and just a good Elise. That is a champion where Ninja can really have a good impact.
And that's what we want to see out of him, even in the off role. Like we talked about last game, it's an expected weakness coming into this series, coming into this game. But if they can shore that up, then they might have a good shot at coming back here in game number 2. Now, that second banning phase that we were talking about earlier, in case you missed it in game number 1, that does occur after the first 6 picks have been completed. And those second round of bans are going to be taken care of with Syndra and Misfortune removed by FlyQuest, taking out a power mid laner and that counter pick to the Zyra support. And then Rek'Sai and Lee Sin taken off the table by Envy, just getting rid of a couple of those good junglers.
Exactly. This is what happened when you have those desynced roles in the first pick phase. Envy here are trying to flip the table here on Moon and target him because he's now getting pushed pretty far down the list. Now maybe he even delves deep into his champion pool where he's a guy who's super comfortable and known for things like Evelynn that are not high tier champions for jungle, right? But if most of them are getting banned out and Elise is already picked away, maybe he gets pushed down onto something like that. Graves is definitely one of the farmer junglers, so the lanes might have to do a lot more of the setup work. Nautilus can do that just fine. Ashe Zyra can definitely do that. But we might expect a little bit less presence from a Graves around a mid lane that is Corki because there's no CC from either of those players, coming into effect. So that actually might relieve some pressure on Alex this time around and allow Alex to have a bit better of a game.
And that could be exactly what these guys want to see on the side of Envy. Maybe not make it so high can get off to such a phenomenal start. Even if they're still ganking opportunities in other places, it's not for high, right? Meanwhile, Envy, they're going to be finishing off that draft, grabbing themselves the Malzahar. This time, though, we're going to be seeing a mid lane.
Yep, Alex going to take that one up, and that is a tremendous amount of crowd control here on Team Envy. They have huge pick potential with this setup here, as well as a little bit of that siege with the Varus Karma duo lane in the bottom side. We'll see about this early game, though. Balls this time is going to be piloting the Nautilus. Now, Nautilus versus Maokai is probably going to be a matchup that we do see a lot with these tanks up in the top side. Nautilus can pressure him early, get the shove. Try and get some harassment down on Maokai, but Maokai is really just, I think, all around, just most solid tank there for the top lane right now and does outscale him and doesn't even get pushed around too heavily in the early game. So probably won't be able to get too much of an advantage there. We'll see. It's really going to come down to the team fighting this time around, I think, as well as timings on those early teleports. So much crowd control in the bottom lane as the new meta is. It's a lot about how much can you gank the bottom lane, how much can you teleport into the bottom lane, because if you get the enemy AD carry behind, they're very useless except for their CC ultimates, and you can get a lot of kills and a lot of Drakes off of focusing that area.
Here we go. We're going to be loading on to Summoner's Rift in just a couple of moments for game number 2. The big question, of course, can Envy rally? Can Envy do what Envy needs to do, come back, tie this up, and send us into game number 3? Or is FlyQuest going to make as much of a statement in this second game as they did in game number 1?
Yeah, I mean, definitely have to watch out for it. We'll see about these early moves and keep our eyes on the junglers.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we go, jumping on to Summoner's Rift for the second time today for FlyQuest versus Envy round 2. This time, it's going to be FlyQuest in the blue trunks, Envy swinging with the red. And we'll have to see how this ends up playing out as, once again, the level 1 looking pretty tame.
Interesting. So first thing, I am going to, even though Ninja, we're going to give him some breathing room because he's a mid laner, I'm going to, critique a lot because he is new to the jungle. A lot of Elise players will start with the machete instead of the talisman, even though talisman is recommended in the shop by Riot as the game, because you can get your W start, you get an auto attack reset, you get a bunch of extra attack speed, and if you start on your blue side, or even if you don't start on your blue side and you move over there quickly, you ensure that your blue doesn't get countered. She's just fine. She doesn't need the extra mana regen. She'll get a blue buff and it'll be just fine anyways. And it does increase your clear speed if you have the machete, and you really don't have to worry about life or HP regen either. That's just a small thing, a little bit nitpicky, and of course he isn't a full-time jungler, so let him off the hook a little bit.
Speaking of worrying about life, bottom side, both supports going to be taking a nasty chunk of damage. You saw Elimination actually fall below half very early on there. Needing to go ahead and gobble up one of those biscuits. Hakulo's going to do the same thing, and these guys are not looking to pull any punches early on, even level 1, just vying for that control.
Yep, trading very heavily there, then kiting those minions back. able to secure most of the last hits. Actually did miss one there. And FlyQuest again get the push on the level 2 here. Should be able to hit that one first. High immediately moving over to that important blue buff that we talked about. Gets the ward down, and he'll see Ninja as he transitions over. You can tell that FlyQuest are targeting Ninja because he is a sub, and they're trying to get extra vision on him so that they can... ooh, High actually has to watch out for those Voidling damage.
This is an interesting development. Flash forward, Alex needs one more! First blood, EnVyUs mid laner.
6 Voidlings right there. I mean, the one thing about Malzahar is you have to really respect the early Voidling damage, and High does not.
He did not at all.
Right there. Just runs head first into Alex, which is exactly what Malzahar wants early. You know, otherwise, Malzahar is kind of struggling a little bit to CS. He's one of the more famously difficult to CS on mid laners in the early stages before you really get enough points in your E to bounce around and get the executes that way. But man, he goes heads up with the Corki, tanks all the Voidlings, flashes late, and Alex has Ghost. Perfect follow-up and completely different story from game number 1.
And without those summoner spells, now both mid laners are going to be a little bit more vulnerable. Of course, Alex each doubly more vulnerable because no built-in escape mechanism.
Definitely true and worth you know, keeping your eyes on. We'll see if High continues to play aggressively because he was using his W last game to go for constant harassment. As you said, though, nobody has summoners in the mid lane, so lots of wards coming out and probably a lot more farming as Alex was able to get a very nice purchase here. Dark Seal coming in as well, so potential for snowball even.
Alex each feeling confident. Elimination going to be forced to flash back. EnVy going to grab themselves another summoner spell, this time in the bottom lane. Really flexing those muscles. Elimination's got to be respecting that damage.
Yeah, great check there from Hakuo. Empowered Q there from Karma. Right into another snipe from Apollo, and they got a big chunk right there out of Lemon. On top of this CS lead that they've been able to get on the backswing, they will now have some pressure at the turret and try to 2v1, land that poke. You know, Karma and Varus are very annoying, throwing those skill shots at you while you're trying to CS under your turret. Makes life very difficult for the Ashe player.
Meanwhile, between scrying orbs and hawk shots coming out from Fly, Ninja is having an eye kept on him very thoroughly. They're keeping track of this guy very, very well, making it hard for him to get off to a good start.
And that's the main thing here. In Elise versus Graves matchup, Graves wants to outscale this Elise. As if they keep track of her early on and she doesn't get off these early ganks, she'll lose steam as the game does progress. And Moon right now, he's grinding the jungle, he's farming up, and he's trying to get some of those multipliers going.
Moon hanging around in this top side, seeing if he can make any kind of anything happen with a lane gank, but I'm guessing the answer is going to be no. Gets himself right past that ward and goes back into the jungle. Yeah,
a lot of the early moves from Graves will be clearing most of your jungle and then going for counter gank positioning, right? Not necessarily, you know, expecting something to happen, but being in position for counter ganks is huge. Because he doesn't really have a lot of initiation, but if you face check him or if you overcommit, he does have a lot of damage that he can bring to try and combat someone who does overextend, especially if it's in a lane where that does have CC like a Nautilus.
Altec going to be forced back in bottom lane now as Apollo and Hakuo continue maintaining control over this, constantly shoving their opponents back, constantly shoving them under. Seraph's going to go ahead and use that TP to get himself back into top lane. Balls recently did the same, so both of these top laners' teleports not going to be available as we get close to this level 6 point.
Right, they're probably going to aim to sync those up with those ultimates for the bottom lane. As we talked about, man, those bottom lane champions will be explosive at level 6. Have to worry about jungle ganks at that point. Someone can die in the CC duration of either the Ashe Arrow or the Varus ultimate. So once those do hit and the AD carriers are closing in on that experience level, we'll transition down there. For the moment though, Ninja is going to hover around mid lane, and some more wards being placed down for both junglers as once again, each mid lane has a pink ward, one side to rely upon.
And notice how High is just letting Alex shove in now and then hanging out under his turret. He learned his lesson against those Voidlings. He does not want to take a bite out of that again.
Yeah, definitely don't want to experience that one more time. We'll have to track as well how early he gets a QSS this game, because now he's actually laning against the Malzahar.
Right.
And getting an early QSS really cuts into your damage. So it'll be an interesting choice to see if he actually does go for it super early on. Trinity Force is so important, and getting it before Trinity Force really delays your power spike.
Speaking of early items, I actually want to point out something that is interesting. Moon went ahead and grabbed Hex Drinker before any other items whatsoever. No Red Smite, no Warriors or anything like that. Really respecting the amount of AP damage on the enemy team.
Yeah, definitely makes a ton of sense against this team. All of the members do AP damage. Even the AD carry, Apollo here on Varus, packs a decent amount of magic damage that he is going to be doing. Ooh, will he push it out? Nope. Push it out of the brush. Able to get the steal once again. And just like last game, escapes with the Blast Cone.
History repeats itself as Moon takes the Blast Cone Express over the wall, this time the Baron wall instead of the Dragon wall, and gets himself out, stealing away that red buff.
That Graves grind is taking its toll. Even though CS numbers are very disingenuous, let's say, this time around this season, because some of the camps are overloaded, like the Raptors and Krugs. He is at a experience lead and a gold lead over Ninja currently. Now, this could change if Elise is able to snipe him here, but so much time Elise is trying to create some action, trying to make something happen. This is what Graves does. Hard farms, eventually gets that experience and gold lead. Now he's 2 levels up, so much more damage. Plus, as you said, he already got that early Hex Drinker, so he's already getting fairly tanky. And has to use some of it here as he's in the mid lane farming up minions.
Yeah, definitely a very scary proposition dealing with that Graves that has the ultimate available. Of course, Elise not exactly having that same wallop when she hits level 6 like a lot of other champions do, so Ninja's going to have to be careful to watch out and think about these counter jungling opportunities and where Moon is going to be when he tries to make a play of his own.
Yeah, and it's actually already at that point where it's very difficult for him to really even answer if Moon goes in and he tries to bully for the 1v1. Meanwhile, Moon also has this Corki with package to rely on. Whenever your mid laner roams first, and Hai has been roaming very quickly, now that he's got an extra mobility spell, he'll get there very, very soon. And there's a lot of damage packed in that duo, even though they don't have a ton of crowd control.
Now, one thing that's worth pointing out, in game number 1, remember the early packages from Hai were not necessarily extremely successful.
Looking for a chunk here as he goes for the blue. Does get the chunk.
Alex Beach.
It forced Ninja to also take the blue there. You see he didn't want to get it stolen. So Alex, not only did he get chunked out there and have to use a potion, but doesn't get the blue hand off. Hai didn't get his either because he was chased out of lane and Moon just went ahead and took it, as Graves will do. I'm on my farm path. You're going to mess with my farming efficiency, then too bad for you. You're not here, then you don't get it.
Ball's getting kind of smacked around a little bit by Seraph right now, but considering this is Maokai versus Nautilus, he's not in the same kind of danger he was in last time, as Hai looks to get himself up here if he can, but the flash away from Seraph is enough to keep him alive.
Yep, gonna flash there. As soon as he sees that, Hai goes right back to mid lane, doesn't want to lose any minions. And so he's getting value out of his roams, even if he actually didn't get to convert on that gank. Does miss one there as he's trying to head back. But should be able to see us under turret. All right, Ninja back at it. He's down. Oh, he's face checking.
Oh, it's going to be both junglers. Here comes the play in bottom lane. Arrow finds its way onto Apollo. Stranglethorn's going to be cast as well. Ninja versus Moon. Still the 1v1 off the side. Altec killed first. Apollo's able to grab that kill. It's going to be Moon number 2. Lemon number 3. 3 for 0. Envy.
And Ninja actually outplays Moon in that exchange in the brush, dodging the Graves damage there. What a good repel. That's one of those things you really have to get used to and time it correctly. He was able to get to the other side. Plus then he sidestepped the ultimate as well. And Ninja, even though he's down experience, able to come out ahead in that one. Plus he had the roaming mid laner. Alex came through. Bottom lane victory there for Envy. And it actually is the complete opposite story this time around in this game. Hai going aggressive to mid lane though.
This is such a different game from game number 1. 4-0 and over 3,000 gold lead. The first Drake gonna be going their way. Yeah, it's still early on in the game. Yeah, we're only 11 minutes in, but everything is coming up Envy left, right, and center. They have got their heads on straight coming into game number 2.
And actually, for Team Envy, you talk about, low expectations a lot of people had coming in. The bottom lane was one of the really overlooked parts of this matchup. So this is Altec landing the arrow and flashed in from Lemonation. but Hakuho and Apollo fire right back, landing their own combo, and they get the 2v2 kills while all that dodging I was talking about from Ninja occurred on the top side. Both plays happening simultaneously, and Envy won both confrontations. Good roam there by Alex each. We've been highlighting High's roams all game long, but this time around, Alex is having the time of his life.
2-0-0 on that Malzahar, 2-0-1 now on Apollo, having technically the best score on the team, but Ninja's rappel really was dirty. He dodged the second part of the end of the line, walked out of the way of collateral damage, and now he's doing a good job for himself, just farming up this top part of the map, trying to stay close to Graves in terms of the economy department. But it's going to be Moon and Balls setting up some kind of a trap in here, stealing away the red buff. They might end up being able to find Ninja as well, but they're just going to get themselves out.
Yep, they've also got the roaming support of Lemonation here to come, and he's dropping extra wards in this red quadrant of the jungle. Meanwhile, High's made the call. He's moving down bottom lane to go catch this minion wave. He pushed out mid lane first, so High's going to get quite a lot of minions while the rest of Fly are up here on the top side, and Seraph is taking a beating.
They unload
they nabbed
so much into him! You gotta be kidding me! Seraph taken down by FlyQuest. An awesome shot from Alltech.
All right, they commit there with 4 people on the top side. While, as we said, High transitioned from the mid lane farm to bottom lane. Now he's back, and they're teleporting in for another pick.
Balls activating that TP, looking to make something happen this time onto Apollo. Exhaust comes down, Balls gonna be stunned up. Exhaust backwards onto High. Dredgeline finds its way there, no way out, adios! Apollo falls, and High's gonna find himself his first kill of the game.
Looks like Hakuo is able to escape off the bottom side, and some reinforcements for Envy coming down the mid lane. Alex definitely fed as well on the team, and he is coming to try and push down mid. Ninja makes his visit, but there's a lot of wards scattered around that they're going to have to do some cleaning here. Now Envy actually getting their deep wards now as Ninja moves into the red quadrant of FlyQuest jungle. It's going to mess up Cloud9 FlyQuest so many times.
It just feels different.
Yeah.
It feels different to talk about High or Balls or Elimination on not Cloud9. But hey, man, it's FlyQuest now. They're getting themselves back into the game here. Envy's lead now reduced down to about 1,500 gold. FlyQuest tying them up in terms of turrets as well, as Envy this time looks to hopefully set that mid laner up with the blue buff, get him going the way he wants to be with that, enable some of that spell spam, and put him in a good spot for the next couple of years.
All right, so game still pretty close here as FlyQuest were able to get back some gold with that top side play. We'll see who evens it up now, though. 1-to-1 in the turrets, and Envy still holding on to a decent gold lead due to those early kills. Let's see if the top lane teleports come into play, because Balls is on cooldown right now, whereas Seraph could make a play on the bottom side where there's no turret. High currently sneaking into the brush, but just is going to hold off there as the rest of Envy look like they're collapsing on mid to make a play.
As Envy sets up for this play, I want to go ahead and point out we're seeing a second Hex Drinker on the side of FlyQuest. High going to go ahead and purchase that before even completing the Trinity Force. But Seraph is the one who completes the first big item this game. Going to be going for Spirit Visage first and foremost. As the turret falls in mid lane, Ninja's going to be found by the arrow. Fly looking to grab some follow-up damage. Dredgeline right back into the fight. Balls looking to make it happen. Ulti from Alex each going to be used on that big tank. Seraph soaking as well. Both top laners so incredibly durable as no one's going to be killed and both teams disengage.
Yeah, those tanks are hitting their mid-game peak right now, and they take a lot of damage, but nobody going down.
Colossus, man.
Yeah, exactly. That, plus they've got a lot of their flat HP items already. Meanwhile, Envy did get that turret, so their goal was accomplished for that move. They were able to get the extra turret, and currently that is going to increase their extra lead here as they go back to purchase. For the time, holding FlyQuest down.
Moon just farming up some of his own jungle here, continuing down that path you were talking about with Graves. Always just trying to maximize the economy, making sure you're getting as much gold and experience into your pockets as possible. Scale up as quickly as you can into that mid and late game monster that Graves is capable of being. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, with Runic Echoes and his challenging smite and a haunting guys completed, Ninja's not exactly going to be a slouch from the jungle either. Like, when he finds somebody, if he can land that cocoon and get that burst, he's going to put a lot of pain on.
Yeah, I really like the early pickup of magic penetration, but as you pointed out earlier, Hex Drinkers are being built super early on FlyQuest, so it does reduce a little bit of that effectiveness. Luckily for all of the early Magic penetration users, the Locket of the Iron Solari was changed, so you don't get that aura that you have to deal with anymore. Meanwhile, though, Envy, since they're so heavily stacked on magic damage, there's a lot of MR being built on FlyQuest independently by each of the members.
Trying to be careful down here in the bottom lane, looking to run away from Ninja if he can. Gonna be forced to flash that cocoon. Ninja tries to make a play, but
he does
get it.
I mean, getting the flash, that is a play.
Yeah, okay, it's still a play. He doesn't get the kill. He doesn't get the play he was looking for. He still gets a good play.
True enough. Not quite the ending he was looking for, but does get the flash, and they immediately transition into this dragon. It looks like it's going to be a little bit hard. Oh, teleport is coming in. FlyQuest contest.
FlyQuest want to make this happen if they can. Drake down very low. Moon's going to be bursted. Has to run away. Going to be killed first. Alex each killing spree. Fly high right in the middle. Having to fly away. Alltech now jumped on Apollo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shoots him down. 2 dead on the side of FlyQuest, and Envy take the fight.
Meanwhile, they're surviving on 50 HP, multiple members there. They're able to take the Drake afterwards as well. Couple of extra kills, and Envy are looking to make this a 3-game series.
Good stuff from Team Envy. They are not willing to roll over and die in game number 2, Kobe. These guys are really stepping up. They grabbed Drake number 2 for themselves. Not only Drake number 2, but last game, we saw a garage sale of Drakes. This time, it's double mountain.
Exactly. Mountain Drakes will be important later on. But let's revisit this dragon fight. As Moon was going in for the steal, he gets ulted mid-dash right there and taken out immediately. So this is basically a 4v5 from that point. Hakuo almost got taken out in answer, but FlyQuest, the main problem here is desynced teamfight. They had people coming up at different times. Their main tank, not only was Balls teleporting in, so you have to wait for the channel to complete, but he was also on the other side of the Dragon Pit. This is not the correct way to go about a teamfight when you've got 3 AD carries on your team. They have to have this Nautilus right on the front lines and soaking up the skill shots there from Envy. Now they're getting teleported on, and Seraph is looking to pick high off.
This should be an easy pickup for Envy. They grab the enemy mid laner, totally free of charge. Fly, of course, trying to allow their mid laner to make some kind of a play. High wants to grab Hakuo on the way out, but he doesn't have the damage. As Balls is going to be pushing up down here in the bottom part of the map, trying to make something happen, just put down some pressure, make Envy have to answer something else. But Envy instead going to be deciding to rotate towards the top side, take down that tier 1 that's still standing over there, and continue to pile that global gold into their pockets.
Yep, take out the last top outer turret here. As you said, increasing the lead now 3-1 in the turrets, and they get a lot more map control with this. The wards are slowly moving up. They've been able to clear out all of FlyQuest wards on their side of the map, so the options are dwindling pretty quickly for FlyQuest. As we said, they need to make moves where Nautilus is on the front line, protecting those triple DPS from the back line. Even quadruple, actually, is Lemon on the Zyra, definitely a DPS as well that needs protecting. So if they don't have that point man, the front man, they just get annihilated there on the back line, as all the crowd control we talked about from Envy will shine against squishy targets without Nautilus in front.
And that is a lot of weight on Balls' shoulders. He's got to make sure he's always putting himself between these 2 teams to make sure they don't get run over like that. Spirit Visage now completed on both of these top laners, both of them almost at the 200 farm mark. Morello Namicon plus Void Staff done on Alex each means that he's going to be doing a lot of damage whenever he catches out, as now it's going to be Balls, the one who's jumped on Alex each, now under pressure. High looking to make the moves. Exhaust is used. One more rocket might be able to find him, but High is silenced up. Ninja goes up into the air, repels down, flashes over, and he's still going to be killed. Strangle Thorns as a zoning tool. Seraph going to be tanking up everyone. Hakuo and Apollo trying to come in from the side. High's going to be fighting. Has to jump back over the wall. Seraph still tanking. Are you kidding me? There comes your ulti from the Nautilus. Going to be forcing him away. End of the day. 1 for 0.
What a Maokai highlight right there. Seraph was literally 1v3ing the FlyQuest members and chasing them off, as the rest of his DPS was all cut off by Zyra, the Stranglethorns, the zoning from Lemonation and High there. And Seraph was almost able to make a play all by himself, but ends up, they do have to abort mission and it's only the 1 kill after all of that action in the EnVy jungle. Let's take a look at how it started. Now, Malzahar ultimate, as you know, does percentage health damage, so it is very good to ult tank. Definitely viable. Yeah, ulting switches is great, but ulting tank's also an option. The thing is, Hai, instant response to go interrupt the ultimate. Jumps in there with the package, and it looks very good for FlyQuest, as this time, they're all grouped up. Moon hits the ultimate over the wall as Lemonation uses that zoning. On the left here, you can see, and Hai trying to lay down some cover fire to force Apollo off, but there is Seraph. He gets out the Summoner spell in the 1v3, and is able to flash away at the end as well.
That was absolutely incredible. The amount of damage soaked by that Maokai. Damage in the last team
And
fight.
damage done.
Showing on your screen right now, yeah. So much damage put out by Hai in that fight. 2,000 also done by Moon. Those two, the two big swingers coming out from the side of FlyQuest. You didn't actually see a lot of damage come from the bottom lane of FlyQuest. Weren't able to get themselves in there the way they wanted to, but with how many health bars were blinking at the end of that fight, just a little bit more damage from either side could have told a very different story.
Definitely true. And we talked about, we actually prefaced, what will FlyQuest look like when they're behind? You know, the classic high shot calling from behind. Are they going to be able to maneuver and get these outer turrets? Yes, they're behind in gold, but they're standing gold in these turrets that EnVy have on the outer rim. And those actually will topple pretty easily. The mid turret especially is quite low at the moment. The problem is, their 5-on-5 team fight is being attacked from all sides with this EnVy squad, and EnVy have performed pretty well in the last couple team fights. Plus, that double mountain that you mentioned earlier really puts pressure on sneaking Baron. So vision control around Baron pays off very big for Team EnVy, because they can burn that thing down.
Team EnVy now, you are going to see them putting down some wards around that top part of the map in the upper side of the jungle on the side of FlyQuest. Want to make sure they're at least keeping an eye over that entire area. So if they ever do get the chance to pull that trigger, boom, they're right on it.
All right, and Alex, one of the guys we're highlighting this game, right along with Apollo. You know, these two carries for EnVy on the backside that have a lot of damage. Alex is on a pretty good spike here, you know, with the double completed items, went for the super early Void Staff due to all these rushed Hex Drinkers and Spirit Visage from the members of FlyQuest. And he's also got 5 stacks for himself, since he has yet to go down in this game.
Both 80 carries also starting to get there in terms of their strength. 4, 1, and 2 compared to 0, 2, and 2. A lot stronger Apollo is when you compare him to Alltech. Elimination's going to be bursted. Can't get himself away from anything. Seraph's going to be jumping in. Alltech 2 falls bound up. The suppress keeps him locked down. Seraph will not stop. He is a force of nature at this point. Hai having to get himself away. It's going to be Moon killed next. Balls still alive. Hai running. Tries to get away using the blast cone. Going to be aggroing the red buff for some reason. Another blast cone may just take him out of there. Can't quite find his way out just yet. Looking to take one with him. No, sir. 4 dead on the side of FlyQuest. EnVy again finds success.
He doesn't quite get the right angle on that blast cone, so not been able to make it over the dragon wall. It would have just been a delay, and he would have been able to kind of run them on a bit longer of a race, but does end up going down there. And man, EnVy, full steam ahead. They just run straight over FlyQuest. Seraph's actually not done here as he tries to chase balls down.
Seraph is just totally fearless on this Maokai. And what do you have to be afraid of when you cannot die? His build, too, he's got the Spirit Visage, but instead of that traditional Sunfire cape that we usually see on Maokai's, Frozen Heart has kind of been the item of choice for him.
Yeah, I mean, Frozen Heart is super popular, super good on Maokai. Gives him all the stats that he does need. You know, cooldown reduction is amazing on him. The aura is so good against triple 80 carries on the enemy team, so definitely expected and definitely good pickup for him. He's super duper tanky at this moment, and that's just what they need. That snare on the front line, they can't get past him. Siege here actually going a little bit awry for FlyQuest as Balls takes most of his health.
Balls in some trouble. Ninja in even more. Alltech going to be credited with that kill. FlyQuest, although they do not find that tier 1 they were wanting, instead they're going to be finding the enemy jungler, as Hai has got the package locked in and raring to go. Enemy tier 1 turret down to about 10% HP. It's only going to take potentially 2 auto attacks here if one's enchanted with the Trinity Force, and they can bring that down.
Yeah, you know, rough for the 1v3 to pull out that tower kill, but the momentum now is swinging a little back in favor. They got that kill. They do have a lot of vision here for FlyQuest set up, but Envy still holding on to this gold lead, still very ready to pull the trigger. As you talk about, Seraph has, you know, no worries about running straight into this squad. Full tank build from him, and it's definitely paying off.
You guys said the Legion going to be built next on balls, likely going towards that locket so we can have that extra shielding potential for the rest of the team. But it's High who's caught out in bottom lane, the ulti into the Twisted Embrace, and Seraph picks up kill number 2.
Nice little trade there from EnVyUs. Their mid lane was super low already, so they kind of expected it to go down in the near future, and instead go for the extra kill here to pick up on High, grabbing another one for themselves. See if they can actually move into fight that vision fight around Baron here, though, because FlyQuest are weak.
FlyQuest being very, very stealthy, looking for Hawk with a face check. They're going to be finding him. Balls will soak the damage on the front line. TP's going to be used. Seraph wants in. Ninja's going to be bursted, runs away. Apollo almost dies, not quite yet. Ninja goes next, 2 dead for Envy. High is still dead from before, but he's about to come back to life. Seraph soaks so much damage, but it's not going to be enough just yet. Barely getting himself away. Envy loses the fight. A great trap set up by FlyQuest.
And he's not the only one that barely got away. A couple of members from Envy also sent back to the fountain, in addition to the ones that actually were sent to the graveyard. So that means FlyQuest, they move in with the redemption heal. Actually, that was the wrong redemption to go take this Baron, as Envy actually are fighting it, and High gets a kill.
What in the heck is going on with that one? Alex each getting himself popped. Can't do anything to stop this just yet. Apollo might be hanging around looking to make a miracle steal. Nope, not gonna be happening. Instead, it's Alltech who grabs FlyQuest.
Vision always pays off here. FlyQuest, they spent, you know, 3 pink wards to get this Fog of War. Look how scary it is for Envy to face check this, and their squishy members are the ones face checking. Immediately delete one, and even though the teleport comes in from Seraph, those longer teleport times, look at Moon on the top side. He's chasing off 3 members right now, gets the burn damage so he knows that Ninja's gonna go down, doesn't overcommit, and then can turn onto Seraph and take down that super tanky Maokai. 4 versus 1, not gonna like those odds, and he's gonna have to flash out and recall. Plus, he teleported into that fight, so he couldn't get back to the Baron. That was a good follow-up call to then force Baron, and it also gave them more kills. So FlyQuest are able to really turn it around here in the mid-game. We're gonna have to track, though, what they get out of this Baron power play, because Envy are now lying in wait themselves.
Envy gonna be setting the same trap FlyQuest did, but it's Balls and Seraph on the front lines. Alex each thrown up into the air, juggled around like the sideshow at the circus, man. Seraph's gonna be next. So much damage poured into that Maokai. Just a little bit more takes down the Guardian Angel. High's gonna be looking for more off to the side. Seraph comes back to life, but it is not going to matter. 2 for 0, FlyQuest marching down the mid lane.
Oh, it's a tragedy for Envy there. Yeah, they did try and counter there and set up another vision play, but Balls, the tank, is the one who's face checking for FlyQuest. That's the one who you want to be taking the damage, and it just went all according to plan. They had the Baron buff, so much extra damage there, and Envy, not only did they lose the team fight, GA was just purchased on Seraph, immediately goes on cooldown. So they lost a tremendous amount in the last 5 minutes here. And FlyQuest, even though they got behind early, pulling it back around with vision control and strong team fighting.
And they take the inhib for it. Here's how it all went down one more time.
All right, so as we said, this is the man you want to face check. Plus, they have a hawk shot going over anyways. FlyQuest fully expecting this one. Even running straight into that Stranglethorns. Both tanks try and kite back a little bit. Alltech flashes into the rest of his team. Good escape there, and too much focus fire there. They're able to burn down the tank first, and Seraph gets abandoned because there's no way you recover the team fight at that point. They are forced to recall in enemy territory and give up that inhibitor.
And look at the damage in that last team fight. Again, it's going to be High at the top of the charts. Apollo, a very close second, though, and it's Zyra, the second biggest damage side on the side of FlyQuest.
And the standout bar from that little graph that we just showed, Alex. 160 something damage you got to see from the Malzahar, the mid laner, because he got blasted so early on. And FlyQuest now really getting a lot out of this Baron buff as they siege again.
It's going to be Seraph starting this fight off. Balls underneath the turret, not tanky enough to soak that for very long. Seraph's going to be bursted down yet again, though. A rampage for High. Ninja goes in, has to repel himself out, and High is flying all over the place. Killing spree, double kill. FlyQuest has found 4. A triple kill for Moon.
Oh, and he stays alive too because his teammates kill the turret before it can get that last shot off. FlyQuest, this is going to be them into the base, getting another inhibitor turret down.
This game was looking so good for so long for Envy, but FlyQuest have turned things around.
Nice time.
Moon gets taken out. Apollo doing what he can to defend. Falls so very low, but High jumps in and grabs the kill as Lemon, Balls, and High, the 3 age-old members of the NA LCS, will end game number 2 unless Hakuo and Seraph can somehow stop them. It looks like they will. Balls is going to be jumped on, activates the shield, and he is just spider food, man. No, he's got another.
He takes a while. He's just playing with his food a little bit.
He's got another one. He's got another one. All right. So
I feel bad for you. Envy put a stop to your little 3 amigos ending there.
I had the perfect ending. All right. Anyway, here's the fight. Here's how they did it.
All right. Well, this is the siege with the Baron buff, and actually, really nice focus here from Envy. They get a lot of damage onto Balls, and they force him out. He does flash, though, and then it's a turnaround right onto Seraph. All of this range DPS here from Fly. They do trade Seraph and actually get the kill onto Altec, but man, High saves the team fight here with his package, just annihilating the squishy members of Envy after Maokai got burned down. And then, yeah, there's a zoom in there on Moon as they were able to just barely kill that last turret before it executed him. So that was a much closer team fight than the resulting base from Envy now would tell the story of. But man, FlyQuest have been able to just pry their way right back into this game, and they've got now a pretty sizable lead.
5,500 gold, the advantage for FlyQuest over their opponents, and one more big fight loss like that, one more team fight where you go 1 for 4, it's game over, and Envy's going to be taken down. They've got to realize they are on the last leg. If there's any time for a miracle defense, it's going to be right now, as Baron will be live in just a little bit over a minute, and Elder Drake is going to be the next one on the board as well.
Exactly. If you're FlyQuest, you have a lot of tools at your disposal at this moment. Balls does have his teleport available. He's feeling very confident on the Nautilus, but since he's so important with the squishy members of this team, he's sticking with the 4-man squad instead of being the split pusher, and they're using High to control both of the other lanes. He pushes up on the bottom side, and then he goes over to usher along these super minions and then converge on Envy. Envy, yeah, they have to, you know, pull out some sort of vision play or something. They're hoping that High runs by that brush and they can snag him and get a free kill.
We've seen the trap work 2 different times for 2 different teams so far this game. Envy's hoping they can be magic number 3. High walks by, but he's walking by on the other side of the wall. Seraph wants to catch this, but instead going to be rotating back with the rest of the team towards top. This is the last standing inhibitor turret, but High is bottom. He's going to be working on this inhibitor itself. Those Trinity Force procs will do a lot of work on this. Alex Each going to go ahead and drop some of the Voidlings. High's going to take care of those very quickly on his own as the push continues in top side. Red inhibitor respawning mid lane. Drops on the bottom part of the map.
And time is not working in Envy's favor. It's a really difficult situation to be in where you have these super minions flooding in, and FlyQuest have all the time in the world to take another inhibitor and get both. So Envy pull the trigger.
Here goes the fight. Ball's going to be jumped on. Seraph's in the front lines as well. Ninja off to the side, going to be gunned down by High. Seraph dropping very quickly. Alex Each first. It's going to be Apollo second. Altec's got the kill. Goodbye, Seraph. Goodbye, Envy. That's what I'm talking about. FlyQuest, they got the double. They've got the game. I will not be denied my ending this time, and they are going to take it 2-0.
Ninja has something to say about it at the end, but a little bit too late. Nexus does go down, and congratulations to FlyQuest. First series victory for that team. You know, it is a rough go for Envy. You have to feel for the team. Again, they come into the season and they have to deal with a substitute. But, you know, things in the second game definitely looked up from the first game for them. So moving forward, they will be able to, you know, count on some improvements.
Absolutely. Going in with a substitute, especially one that also displaces one of your main roster players, it's a very difficult situation for anyone to have to play through. Envy's going to have a lot more to work with in future weeks. And FlyQuest, though, made a good impression week number 1.
They definitely did. You know, high shot calling is still there. The gameplay is still definitely there from a lot of these members. And really admirable series from them. Able to have a stomp in game 1 and then a comeback victory in game 2. Dealing with adversity, you know, through that vision control. It was all about the vision play around Baron. That's where Envy lost control of the game. Face checking with the squishies, and Cloud9 really took that and ran with it.
And we were even talking about between the games, right? What about High? What about that comeback potential? How does he play from behind?
I keep saying Cloud9!
Yeah, but
FlyQuest.
But FlyQuest, yeah, FlyQuest and High. How can they play from behind? How can they do this when they're not off to that phenomenal start? And High just said, you guys want to know? Here it is. That was beautiful. Phenomenal.
Oh, I thought you were throwing to an interview or something.
No, we're not going to an interview. We're presenting it to the camera and to the audience because High just showed all of us in sparkling style exactly how you come back.
Wait in this bush.
Yeah.
Vision control.
Everybody
fog of war.
sit here. Don't move. And get them.
That's actually what I tell like when I'm playing with lower elo friends and they get really discouraged when you're down in gold. You're just like, don't worry, the enemy team will make a mistake here, right? Because so many times, you know, people will. You have to be so diligent about controlling vision and the risks that you take. If you don't have your tank, meaning the one face checking, then things like this can happen and it can turn right around on you. We could see even when Envy tried to pull the same trick, you know, and they're waiting in the bush. FlyQuest, they've got their tank on the front line. They've got their hawk shot flying over, so they're fully prepared for it. And they took back-to-back team fights. That's all that they needed to get back into the game and take this one.
It was a phenomenal comeback to watch. It really was. FlyQuest showcased that they know not just what to do to win a game outright, but to take a losing game, not get discouraged, not get tilted, because sometimes you can see those kind of mental factors play into a game, especially in a series, right? You can see players kind of have a little bit of a rough time when things go sour. They didn't. They stayed strong, they stayed the course, and they ended up finding what turned out to be a spectacular victory.
And that what comes with these veteran players. So definitely congratulations to them. Now, for more on that series, we're going to head to the stage where Freak is standing by with FlyQuest's victorious mid laner.
Thank you very much. I am here with High. You've got yourself an audience cheering for you. Welcome back to the LCS. First of all, how's it feel to be back? And just like always, crushing noobs.
I feel like I'm old, man. I don't know. It's been, like, my teammate's like 19 or something like that. My old teammate is 17. I'm not super old, but compared to them, I feel ancient. I don't know. But we're still winning, so.
I'm pretty sure Afro is the oldest player in the NALCS. So you know, until he retires, you're. Oh, you're right. I'm stupid. What is Lemon? You're. Right, you're the older guy on your team when you say you feel old. I feel, anyway, sorry, I'll move on to another topic. Coming into the split, I feel like a lot of fans doubted you guys. It's a bunch of old, washed up people, partially your words. And you come in and get a 2-0 victory. And I want to know, how's it feel to start really strong in the split?
Well, it's kind of a weird juxtapose. When I used to be on Cloud9, everyone always expected us to be first, second, third. Now people are just saying we're going to be 10th. Nice. So, like, I play for myself, and now I don't have any expectations to live up to. People in the past were saying, like, we're NA's only hope at Worlds and things like that. And now that people expect nothing out of us, it's relaxing, you know? I don't have to, like, do good for people. I can just do good for myself, so.
Are you worried about the pressure of doing really poorly, though, and disappointing your fans, or is that not, like, one of the pieces of pressure here?
Well, we can't really disappoint them if they expect us to be 10th. You know, so I'm not too concerned about that. I don't think we'll be 10th. I think we're actually a pretty good team. We just started practice, you know, like a week or two ago, just barely. We just got our computers and everything, so we're a bit behind on things. But I'm confident as time goes on, we'll become better and better.
I'm glad to hear that. I got the chance to hear you because this is a much smaller studio. I was getting mugged up for the interview, and I hear you yelling to your team during the team fights, and you're just as vocal as ever and just as communicative, and that's great. You feel like your skill set is just as strong as ever. You're still just as sharp a player as back in the old C9 crushing everyone days?
Right. So the level 2 game, the Malzahar thing kind of happens sometimes, you know. I didn't really expect to die. The minions did like 700 damage to me or something like that. So that was kind of my mistake, but I feel like I've worked on my laning phase a lot, and that's what a lot of people gave me crap about. And I think I've kept my shot calling skills, and I think I've gotten better as a player. So, if I can improve upon those two things as a whole and the team works together, I think we'll just be a really good team, actually.
That's good to hear. As you said, it's only been a couple weeks together. You think you will climb up high. Thank you very much for the interview. Congratulations on the win. We'll see more of you throughout the week. Let's toss it over to the analysts.
Thank you very much, Freak. High, no stranger to victories, but finding a victory on a brand new team here for FlyQuest. They're starting off their season with a 2-0 victory. And as High mentioned there in that interview, the expectations for this roster coming in, very little. Most people saying they will be the 9th or 10th place team in the league. Of course, Envy, without the full roster, is not the most formidable of opponents, but to have that solid 2-0 under their belt to kick off the season will feel good.
Yeah, it's really important that they came out and showed that they can beat a weakened Envy, which they did, and they addressed some concerns and not some others. The game 2, they had a relatively weak early game, losing some lanes, but you did see a lot of good shot calling, like High said. They had a couple good rotations to the top side to get a kill on the tank and start trading objectives. They came back in the game from down, which is something that old C9 was always great at, and so you see that they do have the shot calling. There's still those concerns about individual skill matching up well.
Well, let's talk about how they got into a bit of a hole there at the beginning of game 2, starting in Champion Select. I mean, we saw target bans going towards the jungle here out of Envy, relegating Moon down to the Graves as his pick.
Yeah, it's a little weird to think about where you have your mid laner playing jungle and then you heavily target the other jungle.
Right.
It doesn't seem like the most obvious strategy on paper, but Moon did have a really good game 1, and I think they were looking to just stabilize in the early game and hope that they can maybe snowball off lanes, which they kind of did. So in that sense, I did like that strategy where they are forcing Moon off an early game playmaking champion and going on to the Graves eventually. I think that does make sense. You're out of early game options to compete with the Elise, really, so you go for something that scales a little bit harder.
Right, yeah, with the 2 bans and the pick in the first phase of Junglers Fall by 2 more bans coming from Envy towards the jungle, that essentially is saying, Moon, who do you think is the 6th best jungler? He goes with Graves. As you mentioned, you now have Elise up against Graves, which is a very big disparity in early game pressure, and it went in favor of Envy. Our first replay is going to be in the bot lane, 3-for-0 for Envy here, and a lot of this comes from that early skirmishing power of the Elise.
Right, and you see that basically 2 fights break out at the same time. Moon's going to have to fight Ninja while the bot lanes get fighting, and really good outplay by Ninja actually on Moon to dodge the Q damage, and then the LCS, nice roam, able to follow up, clean the kill up on top of Moon, and then the bot lane won their 2v2. So you get a quick 3-for-0 out of nowhere, and that starts snowballing the game. And like I said, out of nowhere, huge CS lead for Apollo during this game.
Exactly, yeah. Apollo had a bunch of kills stacking up early on that Varus, and this is where, the test came for FlyQuest. And in a sense, specifically High, when it comes to Phoenix logo popping up behind us, but
Ignore that.
yeah, with High and his shot calling too, this is where it's like, okay, if he's really going to live up to the name of this shot caller, this great shot caller that he once was, when you're playing from behind is when it's even more important. And we saw the classic decisive Baron call from High come 27-50 into the game off of just a single kill. Boom, let's get to the Baron, let's make this happen.
Right, and I think that's really the most important thing is that a lot of teams can play from ahead. It's not as hard, but when you're able to win fights like this from behind and then know how to not just win that fight but get the next objective is super important. And they're able to do that here where they sit in the brush, they get a fight that starts off pretty well for them, they clean up a couple kills, and they're able to just get, Seraph. They kill him off too.
This
takes
forever, first of all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, getting the kill on the Elise, we saw Moon getting into the backline while the Altac hit the arrow on Ashe on the backline, which was pretty clutch in that fight to kind of
sneak
stop
it through.
the damage.
Yeah. So once they got that and they turned to the Baron, I mean, that's the kind of call that you need to really come back in the game, because winning that fight doesn't win you the game. Getting the Baron does. And understanding that is something that High does extremely well, knowing exactly what they need and getting that done. And he even played team fights pretty well. Past that point, he had a really nice, package play into the bot lane. So all around, like a really good game by them after that initial problem in the early game where they give up the kills and they're falling behind in lane and all that.
So let's talk about that, though, because that has to be a concern. Yes, it is great that they demonstrated the fact that they can dig their way, or rather climb their way out of a deficit and come out with a win. But the fact that they were in a deficit is a concern in and of itself, which is that, okay, if our early games aren't strong and we hand those same 3 kills over to Cloud9, to CLG, to Team Liquid, they might actually be able to close out the game without that Baron fight that Envy lost.
Right, and you think that maybe even the early game could go worse. I mean, you don't want to look too much into a single one bad early game play because it wasn't that bad in the first game, their early game. So you don't want to read too into it, but that was the concern with this team coming in, and I wouldn't say that this series really cleared up those concerns.
Right, absolutely. Let's move on to player of the game. It's going to go to Moon this time around. Specifically for the fact that 5 junglers are taken off the table, you're relegated to Graves. And although, yes, the early game didn't go super swimmingly for FlyQuest, he, as an individual, after he established a couple items, actually started to step up here.
Yeah, I mean, he was put in a tough spot given how the draft went, and he did really well for that. He farmed up early game. Once a play went wrong, he didn't keep trying to force things. They made a couple smart plays, and then that team fight at the Baron that turned it all around, he was basically 1v3ing the backline of Envy and just not being too afraid, willing to put the damage out and following up on that arrow that we talked about that managed to get through the team. So all of that combined with how he finished the game, once again, that bot lane fight, he picked up a couple kills as well. So just a great performance all around, given how heavily he was targeted in the draft.
Granted, it's only 2 games, but it's great to see Moon as a player come out here and put up 2 relatively solid performances. I mean, he had pretty good early control with the Lee Sin game in Game 1, and then here in Game 2, knowing that I have to play a completely different style and farm up to the late game. Nice to see a player that was kind of the target of a lot of criticism last year open up his season here with a much more solid start.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing where I don't think he's ever been in a great situation for his team. I think, Energy, there were obvious problems in the synergy with them.
Yep.
What happened with Liquid, he was basically just shoved into that role out of nowhere because the team was falling apart, basically.
Right.
So I don't think it's ever been this kind of thing where he's on a team where everyone understands each other and they get along. And you see that maybe with FlyQuest and great leadership coming from High and the rest of the veterans on that team, that he's able to finally transition and reach his full potential.
All right, well, FlyQuest off to a great start here in the NA LCS with their first series victory of the season. We're going to reset for our next series with the revamped Team Dignitas taking on Phoenix 1. Don't go anywhere. The NA LCS returns in just a few minutes.
Oh, wait, 11, is this true?
Wait, what?
Wait. Did Sneaky sneeze on you? Like,
Yeah,
He sneezed on him like 4 times and his lemon just like exploded.
I mean, legit the first 4 times I'm like, can you come here? And he just never does.
Ooh, High actually has to watch out for those Void Link damage.
This is an interesting development. Flash forward, Alex needs one more! First blood, Envy's mid laner. Still the 1v1 off the side. Altec killed first. Apollo's able to grab that kill. It's going to be Moon number 2. Ribbon number 3. Fly High right in the middle, having to fly away. Altec now jumped on Apollo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shoots him down.
We're fine. Fight.
It's going to be Apollo second. Altec's got the kill. Goodbye, Seraph. Goodbye, Envy. That's what I'm talking about. And they are going to take it 2-0.